Leo O'Connor, Offaly Under 20 manager, joins us now. Leo, I'm sure you saw the draw in Tipperary final. I hope I haven't put you on the spot, but I'm sure. Would you have any thoughts of in terms of what's going to happen in this replay?
I think Kildangan are just in a prime position because Kildangan over the last couple of years have been always knocking at the door, and I just think that getting a second bite at the cherry will really, I think, push them on. Plus the fact that they're a more workman-like team. SARS are always the team that are how will I put it? Always tended to have the marquee players. So in general terms, I think and Eddie will probably say the same thing. When you get to county finals this time of the year, the first week in November, literally the first week in November, conditions have a bigger bearing on it than the actual hurling, the quality of hurling, and it's the work rate. And what it boils down to, Shane, is the team that really wants it most on the day, because, a bounce of a ball, like as Eddie knows, we're both forwards, and, a ball comes in and it sticks and you expect it to bounce. And, they're the things that it gives the defender that little bit extra time to close down teams. And that's one of the things that I think that probably Kildangan are probably that little bit, their work rate is, they work harder to achieve what they've achieved. And getting a second bite of the cherry maybe might swing that in their favour.
Eddie, do you think that from Kildangan's point of view, they have a couple of causes. Number one, they didn't get their Munster run a couple of years ago because of COVID, and I'm sure they'd love to have tested themselves, so they'd want to do that again. And it's a home game against Clonlara for whoever wins. Another thing is every one of their players, except for the goalkeeper Barry Hogan, was dropped from the tip panel. So I'm sure they want to prove a point within the county that, look, we have some of the best hurlers here.
Yeah, and that was the thing. I suppose it's a good thing too that a team that can go on a run for a county championship, when you have the vast majority of yours. So Kildangan had everyone all year long, so they're to build a bit of spirit there and a bit of unity. I think as well with any team that does get through and wins a county final, and they won the senior championship there a few years ago in dramatic circumstances, their first one, you want the second one. You have to go and win the second or third one to really consolidate that. So they had, they were unlucky. They could have had another one. So now I'd imagine their hunger is massive. And yeah, they probably would say, like what Leo said there, they probably would see themselves as a little bit more workmanlike. But equally, that's an aspect of Thurles' game. When you go back and look at the Borris-Lee match this year, they just devoured them. They really just devoured Borris-Lee with work rate, and it was their forwards as well. So they have that too. But I think you can't underestimate either the conditions. The conditions are massive, because what's going to happen, and I think this is the trick probably for teams that are going to go along and win a county championship, is that you have to say it to yourself, and this is we talked about earlier, Ballyhale, mistakes are going to happen. And it's obviously then how much you can rescue that mistake or how little of those mistakes. Whoever makes the least amount of mistakes, because you're going to get that the ball squirts off the ground, or it doesn't bounce, or it hits the right hurl, it breaks through for a forward, or whatever else it is. Little things like that can be hugely significant. So it's not going to be top of the ground hurling, because there's a lot of water after falling. So like you said there, it could come down to a little small incident like that. And I hope for someone's sake that'd be an awful way. A lad slips or falls and it can be a decisive moment. But look, that's the time of year, and that's the hurling.
Yeah, and then I suppose, Leo, the leaders on either side, you have the two Flynn brothers. Like Paul keeps producing in the finals, got 1-3 the last day. Alan's one of their, marquee players. Then you've got Joe Gallagher, who's in the half back line this year. He's brilliant. Billy Seymour.
Excellent.
Yeah, Billy Seymour's had a great year, even though he only got a point from play the last day. But he's had a good year. The other side, Ronan Maher, he can't win the game as far as Kildangan are concerned. Conor Stakeland's been good. Billy McCarthy, physicality. And then Dara Stakeland, he's really stepped up this year. And I would have always seen him in the middle eight. But on the inside line now, he looks like a real threat.
Yeah, look, I'll be honest with you, one of the things that SARS have been doing is SARS have been limited. They've really tidied up their act, I think, in terms of their scores that are coming from play against them, and they're limiting opportunities to teams. So, when it gets down to this time of the year, it's one of the things that when county finals, as Eddie just referred to, when county finals are there to be won, it's a team that's conceding less from frees as well, though, Shane, to be quite honest, that are not giving away the easy opportunities for teams. And when you get to that level, when you get to county finals, free takers are of prime importance. When you just referring to the Limerick one on Sunday, when you look at what has been scored from frees by both sides in the Limerick championship on Sunday, 148, I think. I think Ronan Lynch has scored from frees from the Piercy, and like Aaron Gillan with 134. So when it boils down to it, it's the teams that get out and attack it and just adapt to the conditions. You can have all the big names all you want, Shane, and this is what when I get back to you can have all the big names what you want, but on the day it's the teams that really turn up and the teams that work hard. And I've referred to it already with Kildangan. I just think that they're more workmanlike, and certainly. Look, I didn't see the Bursley Thurles SARS match this year, but like as Eddie said, that SARS really bossed and tore into Bursley. That's fine, but you've got to do it on the day county finals are there and getting a second bite of the cherry for Kildangan. I think, look, I'm saying Kildangan, but like at the end of the day, it boils down to the quality of hurling as well. And the conditions, as we said.
Yeah, and Eddie, you've been great with your time, but just before I let you go, who do you think is going to win this one?
I won't be shocked if this goes to penalties, and it'd be an awful way for a county final to be decided, because they're very sure. Listen, wouldn't we? It's drama, but it's an awful way, and I know there's a lot of people talking about that, but hey, that's the game. It has to happen. I won't be surprised if it's tight, but I don't know. I think what Leo said is a valid point there. Sometimes the team that draws it feels okay, because it looked as if Thurles were going to kick on, and Kildangan, to be fair to him, dug in. But look, I'm going to give a slight little nod to SARS. I think I've been impressed with Paddy on the line. I think he seems a very, very cool customer on the sideline. He seems to know what he's about. And I think it's very significant that he has, taken on this, given how close he has been to that team and hurled with all of those guys. That I think it's a very, very brave thing of a lad to step away from playing when he'd love to be playing probably, and then just seamlessly a year later go in and manage those guys. I think I suppose it shows how the high esteem he's held within the club.
Yeah, for sure. Well, look, Eddie, thanks very much for joining. We'll do it again soon.
Cheers, Ed.
I'd say, Leo, I'd be going for a Thurles to win this one, just to edge it slightly, but I would say puck of a ball stuff either way. And like, let me give an insight into what you thought. I thought the quality of that tip final that we saw a few weeks ago was probably a nice bit above in terms of the physicality, and I just thought it was a better tip final than we've seen in a while.
I think, Shane, and like I'm living, as you know, I live in Newport. Like I just watched a lot of tip hurling this year, and I think the standard of club hurling and tip is really, really good. Be it at senior level, be it intermediate level, be it whatever junior hurling level. Like I think the standard of hurling is really, really good. It's just that the difference that I think when you look at the tip final compared to the Limerick final, when you see Patrickswell on Sunday with Dermot Burns, Cian Lynch and Aaron Gillan, like there are three hurlers that could end up three hurlers there in the last 3 years, right? But you just don't have that. How will I put it? The marquee players. Okay, Ronan Maher is a really, really good player. As we said, Kildangan are more evenly balanced. But it's just what it boils down to, Shane, and I'm repeating myself here, conditions, the team that makes the least amount of mistakes and that really works hard. And that's why, and another noticeable thing that I just think about Kildangan is they have a good backup. They seem to have a number of players, that are all at a very similar level, and that when you put that together and go with the factor of the Tipperary senior hurling panel with Barry Hogan, like, so from that point of view, I'm just giving it to the boys that I'd be just giving them the slight nod and having come from where they came in the drawn match. So it's like, we're out to prove a point, and we'll get no bigger opportunity than for the rest of the year, other than what's going to go ahead on Sunday.
And the way Willie Connors came in, he came off the bench because he hasn't been 100% right. Former county panelist, of course. He was brought in and he played as a sweeper, and maybe it caught Thurles a little bit off guard. If you were Kildangan, would you be thinking, that worked brilliantly, let's do that again, release Alan Flynn to maybe mark a drifting wing forward and punish him going the other way? Or would you be thinking, maybe we won't do that with Willie again? What would you think? I
just think, like, I met Willie at a junior hurling match. Newport were playing Kildangan earlier this year. I just thought him how the injury was coming along, and I just talked to him, and he just said, when you try something like that, when you get a marquee situation like that, and it works one day, Shane, it doesn't always work the second day. Like, and I just think that if Kildangan on Sunday bring Willie into the situation, whatever the situation, whether he starts, whatever the case may be, but if they bring him into the situation on Sunday, maybe bring him in back up into forwards, because automatically, you're thrown the stars again. But as Eddie said, Patrick Maher has done a fabulous job below in first year in charge of a club team and a team that you're just after return from. It's a remarkable achievement, and it's what I would term adaptability for Patrick Maher, and it's absolutely brilliant for him. In fairness to him.
Yeah, and they lost the replay a couple of years ago, the last time they were in a final. And I remember the semi-final being in Thurles when Stars played Kildangan, and the best player on the pitch was Paddy Maher. So to think a couple of years later that he'd be the manager instead.
Yeah, it's the whole adaptability of it, Shane. It's unique in that occasion,
Yeah. So the Limerick final is on this weekend, of course, as well, and the Patrickswell against Patrickswell. It's a fairly blockbuster final. You've already named the three big lads, Galan, Burns, and Keane Lynch, of course.
Yeah.
And the Patrickswell have no shortage of stars either.
No, look, it's one of those marquee situations where, look, I suppose you could have said at the start of the year, Shane, the 4 teams that would reach the Limerick Senior Hurling semi-finals, actually, true to form, all 4 of them reached. Doon, I think Doon will regret the semi-finals, the penalty shootout. I think that'll come back. It was a huge opportunity. I don't think the Patrickswell were at their best. But in terms of, that's one of the situations where the Patrickswell had beat Doon so heavily earlier in the championship this year, and for them to come back and to perform the way they performed, and the Patrickswell, we'll call it enough there. But in terms of Doon had a marvelous opportunity, and that's one of the things that I regret. But look, it's gone. Doon have to move on. The Patrickswell move on. The Patrickswell in the county final. Over the last 10 years, I suppose the Patrickswell are more experienced than Patrickswell when it gets to county finals. But in terms of the big marquee players, we all mentioned the 3 players. Like a Patrickswell team that is fairly well loaded, let me tell you. Patrickswell haven't had this quality of players over the last number of years. Like Jordan Higgins has chipped in with 2-9 so far in the championship this year. Was involved in underage development squads with Limerick at an early age, up to about 14, 15, 16, I'd say, and then kind of drifted towards rugby. Now he's back with the well. John Kirby with 3-6. Patrickswell's scoring prowess has really improved this year because players that have played with Limerick minors and Limerick under 20s over the last 2 or 3 years, they've all come back into the fold, and it's one of those things where it really is adaptable for Patrickswell, and they're showing that, So, yeah. But however, you look at Aaron Galan, like as you see it there, Aaron Galan has what, I think, the 6 goals and 9 points in playing championship this year. That's huge, and goals win matches. So, it's just one of those things.
Yeah, and if you're in the Patrickswell now, you're looking at that performance the last day against Doon. It wasn't what I would have thought would have been like an A-rated performance from the Patrickswell. Will O'Donoghue didn't play, so obviously that takes an awful lot out of their team. Do you see will there be much changes for the final, do you expect?
No, Shane, one of the things about the Patrickswell this year, and the Patrickswell have brought in a number of players this year. Wayne Kearns has come onto the scene. Keith Dempsey has been on the scene kind of last year. Vince Harrington, a lad who will play under 20 hurling, I think, next year with Limerick. They're all being introduced into this Patrickswell setup. The Patrickswell setup is kind of changing. But when you look back at the consistent performances of the Patrickswell over the last number of years, one of the major factors that I think that has affected the Patrickswell is the fact that Kevin Downs has gone back centre-back. They've had to put Kevin back centre-back. And he's a scoring prowess that they're lacking. No doubt about it, the injury to William O'Donoghue is a major, major factor. I will go down and say, William O'Donoghue, the influence William O'Donoghue has over the Limerick team, not to mind the Patrickswell team. It's, when you have Kevin back there covering for William O'Donoghue, and, it takes a certain amount of your scoring power away from it. And when the Patrickswell sit back and look at it, Adrian Breen is their top scorer from play. He's always been Mr. Consistent from the Patrickswell. Peter Casey has had a really good championship. That kind of a flaky start. They well played him in the first round and they beat him by 2 points, I think 2-16, 1-17, something like that. But overall, it's a very hard one to call now, Shane, on Sunday. And I'm not sitting on the fence here, but it's the team that goes out and attacks this again on Sunday, and as I said, goals win matches. And Patrickswell have the firepower with Keane, with Aaron, with John Kirby, with Jordan Higgins. So it's not as much. They're not as much dependent on those players, the Aaron Galans and the Keanes to get on the scoreboard. It's just they're getting a balance of scores throughout the field now.
And like Keane, if you're to even just go on the All Ireland final display, he's back to the Keane Lynch that we saw there for a few years when he was winning Hurler of the Year. He could easily go centre forward in this game on Kevin Downs, and like I've marked Kevin Downs before. He's excellent hurler, brilliant forward, and maybe it was just the semi-final only, but I felt he looked a bit of a fish out of water at centre back, which surely Patrickswell are looking at and thinking, right, let's put Keane Lynch the nightmare on him instead and see what Na Piarsaigh have to do.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Shane. I'm not saying that Kevin is a fish out of water. Kevin is a very, very good hurler, but
Yeah.
it will depend, because the role that Keane plays, and this is what we're probably referring to, whether Keane is playing centre forward or centre field. If he's centre forward, he still covers centre field for you because he comes so deep to help out. And it's when he does that, you're then taking your centre back out of play, if you know what I mean. And Kevin he can't leave the centre wide open. So I just think that it's one of the things that Na Piarsaigh are going to have to look at in how they cover Cian Lynch when Cian comes so deep. There's a lad in the middle of the field, young lad this year from in the middle of the field, JJ Carey. He's played. He was on the All Ireland Colleges team with Artskull Reach that won the All Ireland Colleges 2 years ago. So like he has an influence, but yet he doesn't have that experience when there's a Cian Lynch coming out prone around the place, and there's like with that little middle third, you have Diarmuid Burns, and we saw in the semi-final like what he can do when he comes up the field. And like Cian has the opportunity to turn and go into Aaron, or else if he has an out ball to look for Burnsy, and Burnsy can deliver pitch perfect ball into Aaron. So that's one of the areas that the centre back midfield partnership for Na Piarsaigh on Saturday evening is going to have to be perfect. They're all going to have to know their job, and that's where I think the tactical battle that Shane O'Neill and Cohen on the sideline for Na Piarsaigh are going to have to close down Patrickswell around that middle third of the field.
Mike Casey versus Aaron Gillard. It's box office stuff, really, isn't it?
Isn't it? Like
yeah.
I suppose it's a testimony to what's gone on in Limerick hurling over the last 10 years, I suppose, that you have all these players, they're so used to probably marking each other inside in training, they know each other inside out, and then it reverts back to the quality of ball that Aaron Gillane gets in. Like, there's very little Mike Casey can do if Aaron Gillane is getting pitch perfect ball inside. The only other option that he has, he either comes in front and plays him from the front and gets his two cornerbacks crowding in around him. Now, Cathal King's an experienced individual around the place as well. So they might, go 50-50, go level and just play the angles. And if the ball's coming from the angle that he gets his cornerback, he calls his cornerback. But it's all about communication. It's intriguing. And it's one that I'm really, really looking forward to sit back and watch how Aaron as well, because no better boy, because when you think that's when Aaron's his most dangerous, because he's hovering around the back of you. Mike Casey has a role as captain. Mike will be variable as well, and he'll be getting fellas around and getting organised. And that's one of the things you can't take your eyes off of Aaron inside, So it's going to be an intriguing matchup.
It'll be some story for Shane Dowling to win a county title as a goalkeeper. When we thought he's basically going to have to retire as a hurler because of his knee injuries.
Yeah, look, Shane has all the experience, and I've no doubt that Shane's help actually inside around that the big parallelogram, as we'll call it, that Shane will be able to, his influence getting players organised around him. That's one of the things that Na Piarsaigh will benefit from getting Shane. But it is an intriguing story. He's back playing hurling, haven't had to retire from injuries. He's manager next year, 2024, he's manager the minor hurling team. He could, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when it was under 18, he might have been playing against some of the guys that he would have been playing it then when guys were allowed playing. But look, it's intriguing for Shane, and it's a credit to him as well, to be quite honest, that the guy didn't want to give it up, and it's very hard to start. And I not that I've spoken to Shane about it, but I know when you do retire from intercounty hurling and you're looking in at these players and you see the success that Limerick are having, and it's very, very hard for Shane. It's a testament to himself, and a testament to his level of commitment to his club to go back and play in goals. And certainly, as you saw in the semi-final, he's no bad goalkeeper. He played there as an underage, and you'll always carry that. Good hurlers can always play in goals anyway, but it's a term of his distribution as well. His puck outs are absolutely top class from the Piarsaigh this year.
And of course, just back to Aaron Gillane, and 112 the last day from 13 scores from 13 shots. I mean, this lad surely has to win Hurler of the Year. Like, the body of work he's done over the last couple of years, never mind just the season in itself, surely he's owed a Hurler of the Year at this stage.
Yeah, but it doesn't always, as we know, Shane, it's not always Mr. Consistent that way, Like could Limerick go back and get 12, 13 All-Stars like they got 2 or 3 years ago? No, because I think that was a wake-up call for everyone that was, of the situation that existed. But in terms of, like, he deserves it. He's, in hindsight, or when you look at him over the past number of years, he has been Mr. Consistent. He has been Mr. Dangerman, and he has missed out on one or two occasions, basically because players have really, really stepped up. Like Dermot Burns' shooting from long range has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Keane Lynch, the year he got hurler of the year, he was streets ahead of everyone. He guided Limerick. He's guile, he's experience, he's hurling ability, and more, he's hurling foresight, I suppose, really, to see what other players can see. And that's like when you have three players like that, Shane, but like it's fascinating, isn't it? Like you've three players that when you look at it, like any club team would love to have three players that are getting probably going to end up as hurlers the last 3 years.
And
I just can't.
earlier in the year, Galan, like there was all this talk, and Galan was playing soccer with Creeve Celtic. So my question is he any good at soccer? Do you have any idea?
But sure, Aaron, I do. I've seen Aaron. I've seen Aaron. Aaron is a sportsman, and when you've that level of ability, he's able to play. Aaron's positional sense. Sure, Aaron, like it was like Kieran Carey. Like Kieran was a phenomenal soccer player. I remember Kieran signed with Fairview at one stage in Limerick as well. I was playing FAI Junior Cups with Fairview. Like it's phenomenal. He's just a phenomenal sportsman. When you're able to play it in his head and at that level, Shane, it's like it's nothing phases them to step up to that level, and it's a credit to him, and it's credit to Aaron. Like I know, look, he probably needed a break, as well, to be quite honest, in hurling, and that was I suppose a pressure release going away playing the soccer and stuff and so forth. And like it is what it is, Shane. And a guy like him, and it's like something similar to Shane Dowling, that he can come back 2 years out of hurling, come back up, pick up hurling, go back into goals and play in a county final. When they have it, and that's it's a matter of getting the fitness levels into them. And look, they're all in superb shape. That Limerick team are in superb shape, and I can't speak highly enough of them.
And so, if you were to put your neck on the block about the final, who do you think is going to come through, in Piercing or Patrickswell?
I've always backed in Piercing county finals. I think they're in a little bit of transition. I think, as I said, the likes Emmett McAvoy coming in. I know he was there last year, but the Patrickswell, I think, they've improved. As I said, Jordan Higgins, John Kirby, these players are all beginning to come of age. Sunday, I will just give the nod to Patrickswell, but it'll be an intriguing county final. I don't think Na Piarsaigh hit the heights anywhere near this year in this year's championship where they feel they could be. But if they do that on Sunday, they could get over the line. Peter Casey needs to perform big time. Adrian Breen needs to perform big time. Kevin Downs needs to really step up to the plate and start controlling a situation for him where it is, as I said, tactical wise, it's really important for Na Piarsaigh to shore up the centre. But my Patrickswell just.
Okay, well, actually, it's interesting you mentioned performing in finals, because Gaelic Statsman had this up a little bit earlier. In the Limerick final, Na Piarsaigh have played in 10 finals, won 7. Patrickswell, 20 out of 29, so 70% to 69%. I thought it was interesting also the Kilkenny final, that O'Loughlin Gales have only won half of theirs. Ballyhale have won over 3/4. St. Thomas's, they've won every final. Turlough 62%. It's kind of like Na Fianna going to a county final. They've never won a county final. 0 out of 2, 7 out of 13 for Ballybud. That stuff does matter too, that whole kind of thing that, look, we're X team. We don't lose county finals. We go out and we get it done.
And that's part of the tradition outside in Patrickswell, and it has become part of the tradition outside in Na Piarsaigh. When they've got into county finals, they've always, as you said, like 3/4 of the time, they are preparing. There's one thing this year though, with Patrickswell, and that's what's swinging me on my favourite, Shane. Referring back to it, Aaron is captain of Patrickswell this year, right? His father's a selector with Patrickswell this year. His brother's in goals, so that to keep Aaron right and to keep everything right. And, it'll be a fantastic occasion for the Galan family to get over the line when you see Daddy on the sideline, Aaron is captain and Jason goals. It's just a credit to him, that's credit to their, I suppose, their loyalty to hurling and their loyalty to their club. And that's referring back to what we just spoke about then, where your traditions, when the Well get to county finals. I remember back in playing semi-finals against Gary and Kieran and Pat Carey and the Foleys, and like tradition was huge because when the Well get there, I mean, before that you had the Benesses, like the likes of Phil and Richie, they're all marquee names, all GA marquee names. And when you get to county finals, as they say, you have to perform.
I suppose I was going to ask you then about Adam English, his performance in the semi-final for Doon against the Pierce. He was absolutely brilliant. And I'm thinking, this lad, like, how can John Kiley not start this guy next year? And I know that the obvious answer is because he's got Tom Morris, he's got Keane Lynch, he's got Grode Hegarty and so on and so forth. But, like, this lad is a maestro.
Yeah, but I just think Adam has been caught between a rock and a hard place in terms that he's performing for his club out around the middle of the field, out around the half forward line. The role he's kind of a link player for him. He got a Shane. I don't know whether you can get footage of it or not. He got a goal against the Han in the group stage for Doon this year. It was absolutely a superb goal. It was his ability to run, link up with players, take the short ball, deliver a ball, take the hand pass back and stuck in the back net. It was absolutely superb. I was at the match outside in Capmore. It was an absolutely brilliant goal. And like I said, yeah, Adam has really arrived. And like, as you said, county semi-final, he really performed for Doon this year. But it's the strength and depth that's there. Like
Barry Murphy, he looks for.
Yeah, here it is.
Yeah. Look at that. Like, it was superb, And he took that ball. He literally took that ball from 60 yards out and brought it in and worked it through. And there was 2 or 3 hand passes, one Hurley passing back to him and stuck the ball in the back net. It was just absolutely brilliant. So from that point of view, I know. But, like, it's the strength and depth of that John Kiley has available to him. And that's what's driving these guys on, fear of losing their position. I mean, like, where do you play, Adam? Like, you've Garrod, you've Tom, you've Cian, Peter Casey. These guys have all performed to a very, very consistent level. So, like, it's an abundance of riches. And throwing on top of that as well, Cathal O'Neill, who really had...
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, a couple of years ago with the UCD Freshers, we had the misfortune of coming up against a UL team. And it was on Astro as well, so that didn't suit either down in UL. Cathal O'Neill, Colin Coughlin, and Adam English, and Aidan O'Connor as well. So that didn't go too well that day. Which actually brings me to another question. Would you know much about the UL Freshers this year? I'm just kind of doing a bit of research there at the moment. Adam Screeney, your man Adam Screeney's down there, is he?
I was at a UL Freshers match on Tuesday evening. They played Mary Immaculate College Tuesday evening. I went inside to watch it. No, Adam wasn't playing. But I tell you this now, it's very scary to go in and watch them on AstroTurf because the ball is bouncing. Young Leahy from Cork who came on to sub in the All-Ireland on 20 final. Anthony Keady is there. Like, their full forward line is going to be probably Leahy, Keady, and Screeney. Like, and that says it all by the look in your face, doesn't it? But no, it's just phenomenal. And I was just watching around the place, like, you Killian Doyle in the middle of the field for UL. Like, Kilkenny Senior Hurling last year played National Hurling League. Like, it's phenomenal to go out and watch these fresher matches. And I was watching one Tuesday night. On the sideline, you had Conor Doyle, who's slightly injured, who played with us in the All-Ireland final. Like, I was just going, like, that UL team, I'd hate to be Dave Clossy trying to pick it, because I'll tell you this, it's like moving pieces of chess around the board. Like, you just, what do you do with them? It's so strong. And, like, I don't know, just Killian Martin is there as well. Killian has an injury at the moment, but he'll be back on the scene with UL by the time the Freshers Championship comes around. So, like, there's an abundance of talent inside in UL, and Cork UCC can't be bad. I know DCU played a challenge match last night. NUIG are far from, they won't be far away from the plate. Like, it's phenomenal. It's great to go out and, like, and watch him, especially on AstroTurf. When you see him on AstroTurf in the 4G, it's where the ball is bouncing, the pace of it the other night. It was fascinating to watch.
What did you make of the rules? Now, the couple of games that we've had up here in Dublin now, they've been on muckier pitches, because that's just the way it is at the moment. I've kind of given my thoughts already to the people who watch the show, but, like, what are your thoughts on these rules, the hand pass and the puck out one?
Certainly, I just think the puck out is the one that most affects the game, Shane, to be quite honest. Having to go beyond the 45-yard line. It was fascinating. UL tended to go long the other night. But certainly, I think come, later in the year, I think it's trying to get, if they're going short now, you have to go to your wing back. So it's a matter now of your tactics, getting your two cornerbacks have got to get their tactics right. But certainly it was like there was a lot of breaking ball tonight, a lot of ball contesting in the air. And as I just mentioned it, like Killian Doyle was out in the middle of the field, and it suited UL down to a T, because he can come back when the opposition was going long. He can come back in front if he's centre back, and his centre back can sit. Like, and it was fascinating to watch. But overall, like, I just think that I don't think there's too much wrong with the game of hurling, Shane, at the moment. And certainly, okay, fair enough, the hand pass has got to be looked at. I just think there has to be clear air time, right, between the ball and the hand pass. But I don't know, just going forward, like we tinker around a lot with the thing, and we're trying to improve it. And certainly, probably the hand pass is the one. But certainly, I don't agree with the puck out, because I think it has become part of the tactics of the game now, where players can go short. I mean, like, look at Sean Finn. You know, his ability to take short puck outs, break the tackle and pop it off to Dermot Burns, and Dermot Burns to stop a Limerick attack. That's all part and parcel of the game, the way the game has developed. And I just think there's nothing wrong with it. It has improved. People will have different arguments about that, but just in the overall perception of the game, I just think hurling is in a very good place. The crowds are going to the matches. People are enjoying it. And there's very little wrong with it, in my opinion, at the top level. But it's just, if you introduce this, like, it was interesting to watch the other night now. And I predominantly I did go to the match above NUIG played UL last Tuesday week. I wasn't at that, but I just went predominantly the other night just to see how it goes. And it was like back to the old days, Shane, where the ball was going long, puck-outs were going long. And you know what? After 10, 15 minutes, you ignored it again. You know what I mean? So it's just 6 of one, half a dozen of another.
Yeah, to me, the puck out one is going to lead to more bunching and more rucks and more, like, just slow play. So I don't really like that. For the most part, I don't mind the hand pass one, because for the referee, his job is now simple. He doesn't have to worry about a throwing ball or whatever. Except though, like, if you come out in a situation and you win a really good hard ball, let's say you're coming out your own 14 or whatever, you win a good hard ball and you run into traffic and you're being half bottled up, you now have no legal way to transfer the ball to anyone.
Your trailing hand, Shane, has been held at times coming out of a tackle. I saw it.
So you can't do that, like.
Yeah. So your trailing hand has been held, and I saw it. And the one thing that I just thought the other night, Shane, and this is my tuppence worth in it, I suppose, from the puck out, right, and you said it now about the bunching, teams tend to sit back, right? Their half back line were tending to sit back around the 45-yard line, whereas this time last year, certainly in colleges hurling, they were up around the middle of the field, half back, because they could close up in case things were going, and it led to a more open flowing game. And that's the one possible thing. Like the other night, teams sat back in their 45 line, because obviously the slitters know the way they are. They travel a lot further. UL's puck out the other night was coming down top of Mary I's half back, and it was just, they were crowding it, and certainly the midfielders were trying to come through in it. And as I said, the likes of Killian Doyle coming back, sitting, getting underneath the breaking ball, or if he couldn't get clean possession, he was breaking ball down where your two midfielders were coming back. And as you said there, it led to an awful lot of crowding. But it looks okay on AstroTurf on 4G, because the ball is breaking and it's bouncing. But I'd hate to see it at club level, in muck, and like it's going to lead to a different game. And it'll make it harder for the referee to referee.
Yeah, I don't like that one at all. I really, really don't. It's just like, you need teams to be incentivized to push up, and it's actually just doing the exact opposite. Do you know what I wanted to ask you also about, because I'm sure you're watching Offaly hurling there the whole time. Kilcormac, they've gotten over the line now. They've got all these brilliant players coming. Do you think they can make any sort of a burst in Leinster this year?
I think they can. I think it's an interesting one, having to go down to play the Wexford champions, because the Wexford champions are so long since they won a championship. I just think that the whole thing is it's a perfect opportunity for Kilcormac. I think they have both maturity and youth coming through, and there's a certain amount of energy. And I said it when Kilcormac do take over above an Offaly, because they have the vibrancy of the likes of Adam Screeney's, the Kavanaghs, Brecon Kavanagh, Lee Kavanagh, even James Mahon, who was fullback and with us in All Ireland, was only playing Senior B this year. You have Diggy Hand, like there's a load, Tergoyne, and there's a load of players there that are lining up. And Adam has come through playing senior this year with them. Like, they certainly have the talent come through, and they're after winning it now. You've Colin Spain in the middle of the field, like played corner forward majority of the championship, and they're bottom out the middle of the field for the county final. Like, they have the players, and I just think that in Leinster Club Championship, like Munster Club Championship, when a push comes to shove, Kilcormac have the firepower, Kilcormac have the bench to be able to bring on with 20 minutes to go. If they're in the game, takes a dip in form or whatever the case may be, players are not stepping up to the mark, they're able to step up and go, and they'll go like Terragoyne and bringing on, if you bringing on Terragoyne in the Leinster Club Championship around the middle of the field, the energy that he'll bring and the pace that he has, he'll open up any defence getting onto the ball. So from that point of view, I just think Kilcormac have a massive chance to go down to Wexford and turn over the Wexford champions. And it's not going to be easy, certainly, I know, but the break as well, Shane, that the Wexford champions have had, sure, how long have they now? 6-7 weeks at this stage? You know,
at least.
Yeah, and that's a minimum. So from that point of view, you know, it's going to be intriguing, but certainly Kilcormac have the perfect opportunity to go and turn them over.
Yeah, I'm just checking the date, 20th of August, when Naomh won their county title. So that's a different season. You know, the weather is just totally changed.
Yeah, and that, like that. Yeah, go on.
Sorry, we're getting caught in between two stools there. But just of the other teams across the country, like in terms of the club championship this year, and I'm not sure what county championships you've been following, but like we've got a Dublin final this weekend, Nafina against Bowden. We've got a Galway final, Turlockmore against St. Thomas's, who are looking for 6 in a row.
That's probably the perfect final, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
with all that tradition, the last team to do 6 in a row, aren't they?
Above Galway. Like, it's perfect. Who are you looking at as the real sort of top 3 or 4 that can really push for an All-Ireland club title this year?
See, Shane, like we can pinpoint players like the likes of Ballyhale. They really are a marquee side in what they've produced. Like even in Limerick and Piercy, they'll always be a threat. Certainly Ballygunner, like you know what what they did 2 years ago. But like Ballygunner Ballygunner are playing who now?
They're playing Middleton first. Sorry, Sarsfields. I keep mixing them up.
Yeah. They're playing Sars and Cork. If they get over that, they have to come to Limerick and beat the Limerick champions in the semi-final. Now, if Patrickswell get over, you know, inside the Gaelic grounds, Ballygunner having to come and beat the Limerick champions, whether it's Patrickswell or whether it's the Piercy, you know, it's a massive test, and certainly to get over the Cork situation, because Sars have not been in this situation in a good few years again. Like it's 4 or 5 years, I think, since Sars won a championship. So they'll have the energy and the hunger, and it's probably the perfect break that Sars will have in terms of how they, you know, 2 weeks since Sars won the county final now. No, last week, right? So they'll have 2 weeks of a break. So it's the perfect scenario. Celebrate, regather yourself, get your head focused and get the minds focused, and take on a Ballygunner team that they won't be afraid of, because I'm sure Sars will have played Ballygunner a good few times over the last number of years in matches.
Yeah, because I was actually interviewing Pádraig Mahoney yesterday, and he was telling me that, and I kept saying Middleton instead of Sarsfields. It was just stuck in my head, and I couldn't change it. But at Ballyhale, Shamrocks, they're not going to be far away. Who do you think's most likely to win Munster if it isn't Ballygunner? And just by the way, Richard Hogan says Ballygunner travelled to Limerick last year, so surely it's the other way around. It's actually not. It's going to be in Limerick or Cork, whoever wins that team, that quarterfinal.
I know Ballygunner are around somewhere where I'm associated with it the weekend as well. They're going to play in a challenge match, I think, above in Kilcormac, I think, the weekend. I'm not sure on Saturday. But I just think that Limerick, I think the Limerick champions, whoever the Limerick champions, have a very, very good chance, because a home semi-final, and once they get to a final, they're refocused and they rebuild again.
Yeah, for sure. Well, look, you've been great with your time. Really, really appreciate it. And sure, hopefully we'll be chatting again soon.
Not a bother, Shane. Thanks a million, Ed.